Now, what does that mean? Mr. Satpal Jain is also joining us. Mr. Jain, an envoy to get black money.
See, the first reaction that I will like to give this manifesto is that it is a colorless and tasteless document. It's a document released by a party which has been ruling this country for 10 years, which failed on all the fronts.
No, you are a representative of the BJP, you will make this argument on specifics. Why do you say what you're saying?
The party is another attempt, half-hearted attempt to convince the people of this country that though we failed during the last 10 years, we could not bring the black money back, we could not do the judicial reforms, we could not enact the anti-corruption law, but, oh boys and girls, believe us, in the coming 5 years we will be able to do it. Nobody is going to believe them. Their failures during the last 10 years are sufficient for a common man to be convinced and to convince others that this document is only another attempt to woo the voters. They never mean it. They have not been able to do it. They will not be able to do it. They have no conviction for doing all those things. The body language of Shrimati Sonia Gandhi, Shri Rahul Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh, when they were releasing the document, makes absolutely clear that perhaps they know that they are not coming back to power. So therefore make all those promises which they have been making earlier. It is a manifesto by a party which has been ruling this country for the last 60 years except about 8-10 years of time. They should have come with their performances. What action they have taken on judicial reforms, what action they have taken for bringing black money to this country, why they have not been able to enact the corruption law, anti-corruption law.
See, if I want to come back to you on the point that Sanket was making earlier, specifically on this question about the envoy for black money, because you will know that India has signed several double tax avoidance treaties with countries around the world. Avoiding something like double taxation or in fact avoiding taxation is one way to create this black money abroad. And that's perhaps a recognition of the fact that it's not something India can handle alone. It's something that we need international partners with. Is that something the BJP would agree to? Is this a good idea?
Okay, we seem to have lost our connection with Shiv Arur, but let me put that question across. Maybe, Pierre, you would want to ask that question to Gaurav Sawant, or one of our panelists, Siddharth.
Yeah, in fact, if Siddharth Varadarajan could take that, because it goes to the complexity of this issue of black money, that it's not something India alone can avoid.
I have a slightly different take on this because, there's a mythology of black money, that there's of course there's a huge amount of black money. The mythology is that all of this money is parked abroad. In fact, the overwhelming portion of black money generated in India is recycled into the Indian property market. You need to find a way to ensure that all your property transactions in this country are above board. Involve bank transactions, white money. Mr. Ashok Khemka in Haryana, the bureaucrat who had probed the Vadra land deals, had made a suggestion about insisting that the Aadhaar number be used for all land transactions, and this was promptly shot down by the Huda government. We need to find these kinds of mechanisms. Yes, there is money parked abroad in Swiss banks or anywhere else, but black money is generated primarily through these deployed into the property market because that's where the best rate of return is. So I think we need to move away from the rhetoric and mythology of black money and focus on actually actionable things which can be done within this country, where you're not dependent on whether the Swiss are willing to pierce their banking secrecy laws. Of course, we must put maximum pressure. So it is a fact that the Swiss have been more cooperative with America or Germany and have offered India various levels of access which we've been very slow to accept.
So is this really a diversionary tactic?
But the biggest issue is please reform the Indian property market to ensure that the black money
precisely. So would you consider this whole proposal of an envoy to repatriate black money a diversionary tactic? They're trying to avoid the real problem, which, as you pointed out, happens to be with the Indian property market.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds clever and smart, and maybe some people will be excited by it. But I think quite frankly, it's a bit of a red herring. This is not something that is really going to generate, because the fact is that even during UPA 2, when Pranab Mukherjee was finance minister, these questions were put to him that, look, there's so much that Switzerland is offering, you haven't done it, or Luxembourg or Liechtenstein, etc. We've been very slow to get off the ballot. And in any case, the main issue is domestically. So I don't think this is
Okay.
too serious an issue. And as Sharad Pradhan was saying, UPA 2, there were ample opportunity to implement all of these things.
Absolutely.
Why did you have to make this mad rush in the last 2 or 3
And
months?
when
I think
this
the
question
irony. Just one last point on
Yes.
the wider manifesto issue.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Siddha.
Yeah. See, the irony is that if you go back to the 2009 manifesto, there were promises that the Congress party made, which had they actually pushed for them, my hunch is that they would be in a much stronger position electorally. For example, 2009 manifesto said we will ensure that the women's reservation bill is passed, so that the 2014 election is conducted on the basis that 1/3 of those elected will be women. Had the Congress party pushed this through the way that they promised, I think they would have something concrete to have shown the people of India, to the women of India, and certainly that would have paid a much richer electoral dividend than the kind of promises that have been regurgitated in the 2014 manifesto.
Okay.